Hi everyone, a very quick update on Bitcoin today, the 9th of June 2025, and what will happen next. So today we have Mercury squared Saturn, which took place in the morning, and these are the backtesting results. So the daily closure was expected to be green for today with 58% historical probability, and the trend after is given as a 54% historical probability of being followed by a few red uh, closing candles and then heading towards an ATH. You can see that this aspect has been associated with an ATH uh, on many previous occasions, particularly in 2024. It was followed by an ATH on three occasions, and then the next year, when it was actually the ATH, this aspect actually has been the ATH as well, and that was on the 10th of November 2021. So while I'm being bullish for the days to come, I also want to highlight that there is that chance that today could be a top. At the moment is 6 o'clock in the evening, 5 o'clock UTC, and we don't know actually, we don't have any signs of a reversal yet. It just keeps going up at the moment. So we don't have any evidence at the moment that today we make a top, or that today we'll make an ATH. We don't have that evidence, but it is my duty to highlight to you the historical evidence that it has been a top in the past. Okay. Now I use seasons, and very rarely autumn season will translate again into a summer season. We're in quarter 2 right now. We're in a completely different season, so I really don't expect today to be a top. But what it may act to be, it may act to be a local top, which means followed by a couple of days, 1 day or 2 days of down moves and then heading up again. It is possible to do that. Or the more likely possibility is that today will continue to be followed up. Psychologically, as you know, very rarely in this situation when we get a big candle, very rarely a big green candle is followed by a few red candles. That doesn't happen often. Majority of the time, the market makers deliberately follow a big green candle. They follow it deliberately with another few green candles in order to make the entry of the short very difficult. But still, we have that 54% historical probability that today may be followed by a small number of red candles locally. And then it continues up again. And that was the first aspect today, the first main aspect. And the second main aspect today that took place just 20 minutes ago, actually an hour ago from now, and that was the Venus Pluto square, which is a massive, massive event. And it took place exactly 1 hour ago. So look at this now. It had 75% historical probability that the trend was up when the event took place, that is today. It gave 61% historical probability of the trend of the day closing on a green, and it gives a 71% historical probability that the trend will continue upwards. So the way we're going to analyze this is, because the 71% is much higher probability than the 54%, then it is more likely that the trend will continue up immediately after today, because this is a higher percentage, and also because this is the second aspect. If it was the other way around, if this was the first aspect today and Mercury Saturn square was the second aspect today, then we would take this aspect more seriously. But in this situation now, this is our second aspect today, we take this aspect more seriously and we expect that the event will continue up. How far up? Well, listen to this. In my assessment, we are, first of all, these degrees at the moment that are activated by this square on 9th of June 2025. These degrees have never been activated before. We've never had Pluto on 3 degrees before in our lifetime, let alone in the short life of Bitcoin. That has never happened before, right? So we can never use now the historical evidence whenever we see a Pluto aspect from now on. As Pluto entered Aquarius, we always have a degree of a new territory, because up until now Pluto was in Capricorn for most of Bitcoin's life, or actually for the whole of Bitcoin's life Pluto has been in Capricorn. So it was easy to refer to the past. But from now on, when Mercury moved into Aquarius, it's more difficult, which means that we need to obtain more confluences. So, as we cannot refer to the past now, because these degrees have never been activated before, the 3 degrees of Aquarius, what we are going to do, we're going to look for another similar cycle. And the first similar cycle backwards, going back, is the cycle of 2021, because this year we're 1 year after the election, so we cannot use last year. And I have seen some astrologers using last year as an example, and I'm just thinking they're out of their head. They really don't know what they're doing, because first of all, if the markets were repeating each other every year, then can you imagine, it will be a loop of market trends every year, and everybody will know what is happening. It's never like that. In fact, they deliberately change the pivots from 1 year to the next, sometimes to be opposite. Whatever has been a top in 1 year, then the next year they'll make that a bottom, and vice versa. So definitely we cannot use last year as a reference. So what year can we use? 2023? We have absolutely no reason to use 2023 as a reference. 2022, definitely not, again, because 2022 was in the cycle of bear years. So the next year that we actually are reasonable to use as a reference is 2021. And what season are we going to use in 2021? Again, September is in a different season than where we are now. We're in quarter 2 now, and we cannot use quarter 3 as a reference. Or actually, that is quarter 4. We cannot use it as a reference, but we can use quarter 2 as a reference. And that was April 2021. So what happened then is actually the day closed on a red, and the day was 2 days before the top. This is very interesting. So the day closed on a red, so close to the top, and it was followed by pumps after that to make up, and it became the top on the 14th of April 2021. So that is very important to observe, that 2 days from now, that will be the 11th of June, there is a very high possibility that that will be the top for June. Okay, I'm saying this deliberately at the end of the video to reward those of you who watch the video until the end. So this is it from now. Expect the top on 11th of June. We will see how Bitcoin will behave on 11th of June. And we will know whether that is really the top or whether that is just another big candle on the way to the top. And also there is a possibility, as I mentioned earlier, that if this is correct, that today's candle is followed by a couple of days of retracement, then nothing to worry about. We're still on the way to the top. What we're doing right now is we're trying to narrow down exactly the day of the top. And at this season, what we're observing is that they're printing red candles on the way to the top. That is why I summarized this week on Twitter with the words choppy to the top. It's just a nature. The nature of this season is to climb to the top with red candles. Okay. So here it is again, and I'll catch up with you very soon as I have some more information. Bye for now.